Welcome back to the war trench, where history doesn't just repeat, it echoes.
Born into air power, what if the war you were born into started long before you ever touched the controls? What if your father helped shape the future of American air power, building the bombers, the doctrine, and the belief that war could be carried deep into enemy skies, only to die before seeing what that future would become? And what if you grew up in the shadow of that unfinished vision and went on to become one of the fiercest fighter pilots America ever produced? This is the story of Robin Olds, born into aviation royalty and raised among the pioneers who helped define American air power. He would become a West Point All-American, a World War II ace, a Vietnam War commander, and the mastermind behind one of the most famous aerial ambushes in U.S. Air Force history, Operation Bolo. By the end of his remarkable career, Olds had become a triple ace and one of the most respected fighter leaders the Air Force ever produced. Yet beneath the swagger, the legendary mustache, and the battlefield reputation was a deeply personal motivation. He carried the legacy of his father, Major General Robert Olds, one of the architects of the Air Force Robin would later serve in combat. This is not simply the story of a pilot, it is the story of a son carrying his father's vision into the skies. Robin Olds was born on July 14, 1922, in Honolulu, Hawaii. His father, Robert Olds, served as an Army Air Corps officer who would eventually rise to the rank of Major General. Much of Robin's childhood was spent near Langley Field in Virginia, where military aviation was not just a profession but the center of everyday life. Robert Olds was among the pioneers of American military aviation. A veteran of the World War I era and an aide to Billy Mitchell, he later commanded the 2nd Bombardment Group and played a key role in proving the effectiveness of long-range bombers. He led groundbreaking B-17 flights across international routes and helped establish the strategic concepts that would shape future air warfare. Growing up in this environment meant Robin was surrounded by some of the brightest minds in aviation. Discussions about the future of air power filled his home, and he inherited not only his father's name, but also a lifelong passion for flight and military leadership. As World War II approached, Robert Olds took on increasingly critical responsibilities. He helped establish ferry routes that transported aircraft from American factories across the Atlantic and Pacific, creating the logistical backbone that kept Allied air power moving around the world. Sadly, he would never witness his son's rise to fame. In 1943, Robert Olds passed away at only 46 years old. At that same moment, Robin was entering military service, preparing to fight in the very war his father had spent years helping to shape. Although Robin did not literally continue a specific mission left unfinished by his father, he carried forward the same larger purpose, advancing American air power through bold leadership, aggressive tactics, and unwavering commitment to victory. Before entering combat, Robin attended the United States Military Academy at West Point, graduating in 1943. There he distinguished himself not only as a cadet, but also as an elite football player, earning recognition as an All-American tackle. The experience reflected qualities that would define his military career: competitiveness, resilience, charisma, and the ability to perform under intense pressure. After completing pilot training, Robin earned his wings and entered a world at war. Unlike his father, who helped design the framework of modern air power, Robin would now put those ideas to the ultimate test from the cockpit itself. Assigned to the European theater during World War II, Robin began flying combat missions in the P-38 Lightning, naming his aircraft Scat-1, the first in a long line of fighters that would carry the same name throughout his career. He quickly proved himself in combat. Flying mission after mission over occupied Europe, he scored multiple aerial victories and soon earned the title of ace. By the end of the war, he had completed more than 100 combat missions, transitioned to the legendary P-51 Mustang, and risen to command a fighter squadron while still in his early 20s. At only 22 years old, Robin Olds had already become a decorated combat leader, respected by his peers and feared by his enemies. While his father had helped build the doctrine behind American air power, Robin demonstrated its effectiveness through skill, courage, and relentless determination in the skies over Europe. His journey was only beginning, and the greatest chapters of his legend still lay ahead. 2. From wartime ace to Vietnam commander when World War II ended, Robin Olds chose to remain in uniform during one of the most transformative periods in aviation history. As military technology rapidly evolved, he stayed at the forefront of innovation, flying with the first P-80 jet demonstration team and serving on one of the Air Force's earliest jet aerobatic teams. He even competed in the prestigious Thompson Trophy race and participated in pioneering cross-country jet flights that showcased the incredible speed and potential of the new generation of aircraft. His career later took him overseas to England, where he commanded one fighter squadron under an exchange program with the Royal Air Force. Flying the Gloucester Meteor, Olds strengthened his reputation as an exceptional pilot and a natural leader. He earned admiration for his operational expertise, blunt honesty, and refusal to let bureaucracy stand in the way of combat effectiveness. Despite these accomplishments, the post-war Air Force increasingly focused on strategic nuclear deterrence and heavy bombers. Robin Olds believed just as strongly in tactical aviation, pilot skill, and aggressive fighter doctrine. He argued that victory in the air depended on superior training, decisive leadership, and the willingness to seize the initiative. As the conflict in Southeast Asia intensified, Olds was called back into combat. By late 1966, he assumed command of the 8th Tactical Fighter Wing at Ubon Royal Thai Air Force Base. This assignment would become the defining chapter of his career and transform him from a respected veteran into an enduring legend. Unlike commanders who directed missions from headquarters, Olds insisted on flying alongside his pilots. He shared the same dangers they faced every day, leading from the front and demonstrating that rank never exempted anyone from responsibility. Flying the F-4 Phantom II, he personally took part in some of the most hazardous missions over North Vietnam. His combat record continued to grow. He flew more than 150 missions during the Vietnam War, including over 100 over heavily defended enemy territory. In aerial combat, he added 4 MiG victories to his World War II achievements, making him one of the rare American pilots to earn ace status across 2 separate wars. But numbers alone do not explain Robin Olds' impact. His greatest contribution was the confidence, discipline, and fighting spirit he inspired in those under his command. At a time when many American pilots felt constrained by difficult rules of engagement and frustrating tactics, Olds encouraged creativity, preparation, and aggressive thinking. He transformed the 8th Tactical Fighter Wing into a close-knit fighting force known as the Wolfpack. The nickname reflected the culture he deliberately cultivated, a unit built on teamwork, trust, and relentless determination. He expected excellence from every pilot while accepting full responsibility for the risks he asked them to take. Olds believed leadership meant knowing both the mission and the people assigned to carry it out. He corrected mistakes firmly but fairly, rewarded genuine achievement, and inspired pride through action rather than slogans. His pilots followed him not because they had to, but because they believed in him. By restoring confidence and sharpening tactical discipline, Robin Olds prepared the Wolfpack for the operation that would secure his place in aviation history. It would require deception, flawless execution, and extraordinary courage, proving that the smartest strategy can be just as powerful as the fastest aircraft or the biggest weapons. The Wolfpack and Operation Bolo. By the time Robin Olds took command of the 8th Tactical Fighter Wing, the air war over North Vietnam had become increasingly frustrating for American pilots. Enemy MiGs would strike when conditions favored them and disappear before U.S. fighters could respond effectively. The imbalance damaged morale and challenged the confidence of even experienced aviators. Olds refused to accept the situation. He believed success depended not only on courage, but also on preparation, discipline, and imagination. Under his leadership, the 8th Tactical Fighter Wing became known as the Wolfpack, a unit built around trust, aggression, and teamwork. He demanded excellence from every pilot while sharing every risk himself, earning a level of loyalty that few commanders ever achieve. His leadership philosophy was simple but powerful. Know the mission, know your people, take responsibility for failure. Reward success honestly. Build confidence through action rather than empty promises. Those principles transformed the Wolfpack into one of the most respected fighter units of the Vietnam War. Then came the mission that would define his legacy forever: Operation Bolo. By late 1966, North Vietnamese MiG-21s had become highly effective at ambushing American strike aircraft, particularly the F-105 Thunderchiefs. Direct attacks against enemy airfields were difficult under existing restrictions, so Robin Olds and his planning team developed an entirely different solution. Instead of chasing the MiGs, they would trick them into attacking on American terms. The plan relied on deception. F-4 Phantom squadrons would imitate the flight profiles normally used by vulnerable F-105 strike packages. They would fly the same routes, maintain the same formations, and even carry the same electronic jamming equipment. To enemy radar operators and fighter controllers, everything would appear routine. On January 2, 1967, the trap was set. Expecting an easy opportunity, North Vietnamese MiG-21s climbed into the sky to intercept what they believed were heavily loaded strike aircraft. Instead, they encountered fully armed F-4 Phantoms waiting in perfect position for combat. Within minutes, the skies erupted into one of the most successful aerial engagements of the war. American pilots aggressively attacked the surprised MiGs, shooting down 7 enemy fighters in a remarkably short battle without losing a single U.S. aircraft. Just days later, a follow-up deception mission accounted for additional MiG-21s, extending the success of the operation. Robin Olds personally destroyed one of the enemy fighters during the engagement, but the greater achievement was strategic rather than individual. Operation Bolo severely weakened North Vietnam's fighter force and forced the enemy to reconsider its tactics for months afterward. More importantly, the mission demonstrated a principle Olds believed throughout his career: raw aggression is not enough. Victory comes from combining courage with creativity, careful planning, and flawless execution. A brilliant idea means little without disciplined pilots capable of carrying it out under the pressures of combat. As news of the operation spread, Robin Olds became more than a successful commander. He became a symbol of fighter leadership and tactical innovation. His daring plans, willingness to fly alongside his men, and refusal to accept conventional thinking earned admiration throughout the Air Force. Around the same time, another part of his legend began to grow. His famous handlebar mustache, technically outside regulations, became a symbol of confidence, independence, and morale among the pilots who served under him. It represented a leader who valued fighting spirit over appearances and results over bureaucracy. By the end of his Vietnam service, Robin Olds had established himself as one of the most celebrated fighter commanders of his generation. His reputation rested not merely on the aircraft he shot down, but on the lives he influenced, the confidence he restored, and the tactical brilliance that changed the course of the air war. Legacy, father and son, and the enduring myth of Robin Olds. After returning from Vietnam in late 1967, Robin Olds was promoted to Brigadier General and appointed Commandant of Cadets at the United States Air Force Academy. He later served as Director of Aerospace Safety before retiring in 1973 after 3 decades of military service. Over the course of his career, he earned some of the nation's highest military honors, including the Air Force Cross, the Distinguished Service Medal, multiple Silver Stars, and numerous Distinguished Flying Crosses. His record reflected extraordinary courage, exceptional leadership, and an unwavering commitment to the pilots he led. Yet despite his accomplishments, many believed Robin Olds never rose as high within the military hierarchy as his reputation suggested he should have. Part of the reason was simple. He was a maverick. He spoke honestly, challenged ineffective policies, and refused to compromise his principles for personal advancement. While institutions often celebrate independent thinkers in hindsight, they are not always comfortable with them in the present. Olds cared far more about preparing pilots for combat than building his own career. He believed training had to reflect the brutal realities of war, leadership had to be earned rather than demanded, and commanders had to share the same dangers as the people they led. Those convictions influenced generations of Air Force officers long after he left active duty. At the heart of his story lies an even deeper legacy, the relationship between father and son. Robin Olds did not inherit a specific aircraft or a particular mission from his father. He inherited something far more enduring, a belief in the transformative power of air power and the responsibility to lead from the front. Major General Robert Olds belonged to the generation that built the foundations of modern American aviation. He helped develop bomber operations, establish global ferry routes, and create the infrastructure that allowed U.S. air power to project strength across continents. His work was visionary, laying the groundwork for conflicts that had yet to unfold. Robin belonged to the generation that put those ideas to the test. Over the skies of Europe and decades later above Vietnam, he transformed doctrine into action. Where his father helped design the system, Robin proved its value through courage, innovation, and battlefield leadership. Together, their lives represent 2 chapters of the same story. One built the future of American air power, the other defended it in combat. Robin Olds passed away in 2007, but his influence never disappeared. His name continues to inspire pilots, instructors, and military leaders who study not only his victories in the air, but also his philosophy of leadership. In squadron-ready rooms, classrooms, and flight briefings, his example remains a reminder that true leadership is measured not by rank or prestige, but by the willingness to stand beside those you command. He was a football star who became a fighter ace, a commander who led from the cockpit instead of the office, a tactician whose creativity reshaped the air war in Vietnam, and above all, he was a leader who earned loyalty through action rather than words. His story is also the story of a son fulfilling a vision that began long before his own military career. Although he never literally flew his father's final mission, he carried forward the ideals his father had spent a lifetime building: courage, innovation, and an unwavering belief in the power of determined airmen. Robin Olds did not simply inherit history. He climbed into the cockpit, took hold of the controls, and added his own chapter to it. And once he soared into the sky, he made certain the world would never forget his name.